Hello, we're here. It's the podcast. It's directly to you. It's episode 207. I'm AJ of Redirect. This is a Redirect podcast. I didn't say that, but it's our podcast. I'm AJ of Redirect. I'm joined by Parker, also of Redirect. I'm waiting. Oh my god! I thought I hate everything. You can support the channel by going to youtube.com/watch redirect or twitch.tv/watch redirect and giving $4.99 of your or Jeff Bezos' money. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link it to your Twitch account. You get Prime Gaming Sub every month. You got to remember to renew it. And it's great. It's fun. You can also support us on patreon.com/watch redirect. And in exchange for that and whatever other thing you do, like if you subscribe, that contributes to the Patreon tier. So if you want any Patreon thing, but you're already a Twitch subscriber or a YouTube member, or you have a Prime sub that you haven't given but you want to give, know that you can get Patreon perks too if you give just that amount of money across the board. You don't have to give it on Patreon specifically. But yeah, in exchange for that, on the platforms like YouTube and Twitch, you get loyalty badges, you get emotes. Everybody gets the free Switch games from time to time because they get I just throw them up in the supporters only Discord when I go through my emails. But also supporters only Discord, you get to listen to us record this show live and be part of the peanut gallery and say stuff and make fun of me when I mess up the intro or when Parker freaking bamboozles me in the Google Doc. It's true. But yeah, there we go. We did the thing. We're talking about Nintendo and games as a service games because Mario Strikers is a thing that came out and people were mad about it not being good enough. And we just got our first free content update, which means we got 2 characters in a stadium with stadium assets and whatnot. As somebody that likes that game, I don't think that's good enough. As somebody that doesn't play this game, you definitely don't think it's good enough. So this is like a trend for them. Like they're not good at these type of games, and it's this weird thing, I feel like, because like a lot of Nintendo fans, and this is sort of a trend that I've realized when working on the video that we're going to put up, that we like collaborated on, basically, because you wrote like the skeleton and then I went through and I rewrote it. I feel like I rewrote parts. I feel like a lot of Nintendo fans are on a similar wavelength, and just like a lot of gamers on the internet, like active, like vocal gamers, are more like on the end of, or on the side of, like a one and done game that you play once and then you're done. But like the market like is on the opposite end of that. Like the most successful games are the games that people buy and they play them forever, you know, like the Maddens, the Call of Duties, the Fortnites, the, you know. So it's like, it's this weird like disconnect of like, I feel like a lot of gamers are mad at these games because they're not something that you can one and done, but I think that these games are not good enough because they don't make you want to stay. So, thoughts? What do we think? Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not, they weren't in the first place. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Because for me, I think that people approach this conversation with quantity first. They're like, there's not enough content in this game. There's X amount of modes or whatever, right? But to me, I feel like quality is more important. Like the game should make me want to play more of the game, not so much like there's not enough games, so I don't feel justified in my purchase because the number is not high enough. I don't get the amount of like quantifiable hours in this game through the amount of content that you provided me. It's like breadth versus depth, and like all that stuff. And it's just like I definitely agree that these games are not good enough because in that regard, right? Where as far as like Mario Strikers or whatever, right? There's not enough there to make you want to get good at it. And I think that is what they're trying to be. Like they're not trying to be like the Game Boy versions of a Mario sports game. It seems more like they're trying to be the FIFA, the Madden, where it's like the reason why you play it is because you want to get good so that you can tell your friends that they suck and you're better than them. And then your friends tell their friends, and then it's like it's like you become it's the best kid on the block. Like that whole thing. It goes back to like certain games that they do that well, and like Smash, where everybody has that Smash friend. No matter how competitive you are at Smash, everybody has that Smash friend, or is that Smash friend that's like, yeah, I'm the best in my friend group. And like that only works because people care about the game. Like the game is good enough to want to be that. But like, who cares if you're the best Mario Golf Super Rush player? I don't know if I agree with that though. Like, because like, in terms of like, there's definitely like the theoretical, like there's a lot of modes in this game in theory, but even a lot of even casual players don't play World of Light. Like there's definitely people that like will buy Smash because it's Smash, and then they'll play World of Light because it's like, I feel like that justified my purchase. But people aren't like, oh, World of Light got announced, I'm getting Smash, that's a W. Like you don't. Mm, right. The quantity side. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With these games now having the DLC and adding things in, it sets a precedent that DLC is going to fix it or at least complete the game. Like,
Right.
just give you as much as it's supposed to have. So if it feels bare at the beginning, like, oh, maybe it'll be fixed down the road. And that wasn't the case with Super Mario Party. And whereas like Mario Party Superstars was a much better game as a whole, it still like has, in my opinion, kind of the bare minimum of quantity
Mm-hmm.
that it should, for in my opinion, especially with it being kind of like older, like remasters kind
Right.
of. But still good game, so I'm not too mad about it.
I
But the
do think
problem then
that
too is like, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I do think that Mario Party is a good example of like what this means, right? Because like for Super Mario Party, people were mad about the amount of boards, but like technically it has, like, it's one of the games that has a higher number than the average. But the problem with these boards is that they're so one note, and they're like, versus the other boards where it's like this multi-layered, like, it's not a one main objective. It's not like a sort of situation of like, oh, now we're playing Monopoly and now we're playing Risk. You know, it's like there's two types of objectives at least in these type of boards, where there's like more than one way for you to get a star or the coins that you need or win a minigame or whatever. Or like to beat, like, put in mini games and like all these different scenarios that can happen. But in Super Mario Party, it's very like, here's your one objective and this is how you'll win or lose. So like that's kind of the like the depth side of it, where like people were like less so like, obviously the argument became like, oh, we need more boards, because like that's in their mind how to solve it without changing what the game was, right? Where it's like, instead of making the boards that we had better, it's give us more boards so we feel like there's more to do. But like people played the N64 Mario Party games for years, you know, and they didn't have that many boards, but the boards were deeper. So it was fun to play over and over and over, and it's just like Monopoly. Like people aren't like, "Where's my Monopoly DLC?" Because like the like how Monopoly was designed, there's enough variance there for it to feel different every time you play it.
It's a new experience every time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yes, agreed. And I think in terms of like the expectation side too, with the, you know, people feeling like, where's my DLC thing, is now that the Mario sports games especially have done it so many times, I feel like when the game first comes out, and if it's kind of shallow, then, or not, shallow, but also just like doesn't have a whole lot of quantity there's rhetoric of like, oh, well, I'll just get it when they finish the game in 2 years or whatever, you know, like, all the DLC will be out then, and then I'm going to buy it. And to be honest, I don't think that happens, you know, like for the most part, if you don't buy it towards the beginning, or if you're not like, you know, a casual gamer who's just going to like walk up to a Walmart and be like, oh, Mario Golf, that's fun. And then you're buying it at any point, or like a parent buying for the kid or that kind of thing. Like, but like if you're like in the gaming space and like playing the new games and stuff, like the FOMO will be gone by the time that the game's completed.
Right.
And so then, you know, they're losing out on sales at that point. So yeah, that's just a shame,
because like it's a sound strategy, like partly like for them to be like, okay, here's this game and then here's more content for this game, but they only like have it half of the way there, because like people aren't excited for, or weren't, since we're not actively getting anymore, or might, or probably won't ever, with Smash or whatever, people weren't excited about DLC because it would make the game complete for them. You know, like the people that were actively buying DLC were hyped because it gave them more of a reason to continue to play the game that they were going to continue to play anyway. Versus with Mario Party or like the Mario sports games and stuff like that, it's like, maybe this will be the DLC that makes me feel good about the fact that I bought this game. And I think that's a bad way to go about it. Also, on that sort of line of thought, I think that like it would be they have more than one game that they successfully use this strategy. Like I feel like Splatoon is another game that does the Smash thing, where it's like the first Splatoon game, people complained and people were like, this isn't enough content, blah blah blah. But with Splatoon 2, where there was like a solid user base off the bat sooner, and people were actively playing this game, and again, like it's a game that people want to be good at. The additional content really just became like new Smash DLC, where it's like when a new weapon comes out, everybody's using that weapon. You know, it's like, I want to learn how to use this weapon and see if it's my new main or whatever. And that would happen every week, if not more than one time a week, of like these new weapons, these new boards, so on and so forth, that people want to like dissect and figure out and see if that's the one that's for them. Even if you come into the game knowing what your main is, and you're like, this is the gun that I like, and I always get dubs with this gun, and I always, like, if I fight somebody, I'm going to kill him, and it doesn't matter. You still are going to try the new weapon, you know? But like nothing in me is like, oh, Daisy's in Mario Strikers, bet I'm playing Mario Strikers again. Like, even if Daisy was my favorite character in the world, it just doesn't, it's not going to move the needle because I'm not already playing the game. You know, it's not like, oh, maybe this will help my team comp. I don't have a team comp because I'm not playing the game, you know?
Yeah. I think it's just like there are games, again, like Smash and Splatoon absolutely are examples of this, but there are games that people are going to keep playing forever. Or if not forever, at least like will continuously for a long period of time. And those are the games to do this with. And like, honestly, Mario Kart is another one of those examples.
Yeah,
where
I think
Mario.
I was going to say that
playing
too.
Mario Kart, so like that's great. But specifically, the Mario sports games, like in terms of sports games, they're not the one that somebody's going to get obsessed with, unless they're like outside of a very small group of people. That's just not gonna happen that much, as opposed to like FIFA or Madden or whatever, where it's like that's their one game. Like not that many people's one game is Mario Tennis. Like maybe I mean, there's like John Carr, I know he has like 100 hours in Mario Tennis or something like that, which is a lot for Mario Tennis. I mean, and it's that's a lot of hours for sure, but also it's not like that's not your one game, that's not your primary game. It's just like this is my
it's not
side game that I like
not
to turn on
Smash
every once in a
Brothers.
while.
It's not the thing
Right.
that like and that's another part of this conversation that I think a lot of the like, again, people on the internet specifically, because I think most people that play video games, like even removed from like gamers specifically, most people will eventually get a game that's their game, and they don't care if they ever get another game for this platform. They're going to play that game and they're happy with the platform. Or maybe it's a group of games that it's like, okay, I'm satiated, I'm good. The people that we engage with on the internet, and us partially because we make content about it, are usually looking for the next thing. Where games like this are supposed to be designed to satiate you, to at least with the game itself, right? Where it's like, okay, I want, like, this game gives me everything that I feel like I need on this platform. It justifies my purchase for this. I think that like it's less of a thing that Mario sports games can't be that, and more they're just currently aren't, because they're not given the chance to, really. Like I feel like they're designed as like a throwaway thing.
Yeah. If we take Fall Guys as an example, the items on that the like cosmetic things or whatever that are unlockable either through paid services or for free last like 5 days. I mean, I'm sure there's a rotation for sure, and they come back around. But that's not very long at all.
Yeah.
And so like it's something that makes you,
It's
want
FOMO,
to, yeah, exactly. And I think with this kind of thing, like there's toxic FOMO that exists, and then there's just like the regular taking advantage of the period of time that somebody would want to, like there's a lot of games that I know that I would like to play. And I've said this a bunch of times, but like, yeah, games that I'd like to play, but kind of the time has passed, and without a good reason to do it, I've got other games that I would play first, and that's just what it is. And it's just like, if I didn't have as many games on my radar or whatever, maybe that wouldn't be the case. And so maybe that's not the case for some other people. But for me it is. And so in that way, Nintendo misses out on my money sometimes, because like, at the time that it's a thing that I would buy, it's not the product I want it to be yet. And by the time it is the product I want it to be, it's just like too late.
Yeah, I think that motivates most of my new game purchases too, where it's like most of the reason that I have for playing a game, it's two layers. It's like, I don't care about the zeitgeist if I don't care about the game itself. Like I have to be interested in the game. But
for sure.
I think the zeitgeist also carries a lot of decisions for me, where it's like I could be vaguely interested in something. A good example, Horizon Forbidden West. Yeah, that game, right? I have interest in playing that. I'm down to play it. I don't want to pay $70 for it, right? Eventually it'll be $10.
Yeah.
I'll probably buy it. Will I finish it? No, because nobody's going to be talking about it by then, So I have no real reason for me to want to play it, because like, yeah, I'm vaguely interested in it, but not interested enough to finish it and just have that like experience with myself and it just be like this insular thing. Like if I'm going to play it, I want to like, oh yeah, and this part was dope, and then blah, you know, like that whole thing. But nobody's talking about it like that by the time it's $10. So I like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah. So here's the question with this is, would you rather, and I don't even know what my answer is just yet, but for Mario sports games, and I guess it doesn't have to be one size fits all either. It could be, you know, piecemeal for different series, but would you rather that these games are all like the exact size that they are released all at once? Or, you know, like basically they take all the Mario Golf stuff and it was all there at release. Don't do.
So you're saying, yeah, like what Mario Golf Super Rush is now is what it was at launch. Is that
launch? Yeah, okay. Exactly. Yeah. So just like, you know, bring everything together at launch, or do you want, or would you rather that it do what it's doing, but with like better?
I would rather it do what it's doing, you know, but like, better. For sure. Because I do think that, like, again, those games are conducive to that. As far as like in theory, like the type of games that they are like what's there has the seeds of a fighting game, like that sort of, and like fighting game, a shooter, like regular traditional sports games. All these sort of like competitive games have the same like value proposition. It's like this game isn't about getting 20 hours out of this pre-designed campaign and that's it, you're done. It is about the journey of like, maybe you're bad at it at first, but you're interested and you're like, oh, okay, I'm bad at this game, but I want to get good. And like, once you get good, there you want friction to challenge that, where it's like, okay, I'm good at this, so either I want to like a continuously growing player base, or I want new challenges to overcome, or I want new characters to figure out, or new stages to learn, or you know, you want something thrown at you consistently, so it gives you more of a reason to want to actively play it. Like Smash Brothers is a very good example of that, because it gives you a lot, even just the game itself, even if you don't get to the point where I'm at, where it's like, I want to go to locals, like, because that's a whole nother thing, you know, because then it becomes a person thing. Then it's like, you start going to locals and then it's like, oh man, I freaking got this placing, I want to get a better placing, or I can't ever seem like I can beat everybody else but this one person. I need to be able to beat that one, you know, like that's the external motivation. But there's also like the game's motivation of like, oh man, like I'm really good with this character, but like I like this character more, I wish I could be good with them, so you try to get better with them. Or like on my end, if you play like stance characters, or characters that have like layers, like more than one characters within a character, it's like, oh man, my Ivysaur is really good, but I wish my Squirtle was as good as my Ivysaur. You know, you're constantly given your, like, whether it's from somebody else or yourself, more reasons to want to continue to play this game. Mario Strikers, Mario Golf Super Rush, all that stuff, none of those games have that. And I think that they would be better off if they did.
Yeah. It reminds me of like the thing we talk about fairly often about games just saying no, you know, essentially at various points in time. And I think the funny thing about, I guess, the comparison or the options that I gave earlier of like, do you want a full game at the beginning or them to pace it out better, is that to pace it out better, it also assumes there's a full game at the beginning. So basically it's like, I mean, that's the obvious choice, is like, yeah, do a full game at the beginning and then keep, you know, doing stuff.
It just depends on like how, because I think people define full game in a weird way, because like, again, like when somebody says full game, when you see that like the meme of like games back in my day, and it's this freaking like triple whopper, like extra super sized drink, fries, tater tots, you know, like they give the ice cream, and then like games now, and it's just like a bun and cheese or like some dumb crap like that, right? Like people think quantity, but for me, it's like I think Overwatch, despite like when it first came out, it had 2 modes or 2 game types, I should say. It's really 1 mode, but I would say that it was a full game, because those game types were deep enough to make people want to get better at them. And like a game is more than just like freaking there's this many lines of dialogue, and but like Tetris is one of the most simple games in the world, but you can play it for forever because there's endless not like incentive to play it, to get better, to get higher score, but like figure it out more, like figure out better strategies, blah 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 blah. And I feel like if games are better at doing that, they don't have to have 27 modes, 80 characters, you know, like.
I mean, I think for me, Mario Party Superstars honestly is the like prime example in my head of a game that like it could have had way more in it or whatever, but like my experience with it as a game didn't feel bad in any way. Like I felt good about what was there, even though I was aware that like, man, there's only like 10 characters. Like that's not a lot of characters. And so I saw potential and still see potential for DLC stuff to really easily be added in and not like necessarily be that hard to do. But I wasn't mad about, you know, the initial thing, meaning that if they ever do DLC things, I had good experiences with it. So them dropping more content means I will impart the good experiences on future things as well and be like, oh, I had a fun time before, I'll have a fun time again, so I should do that. As opposed to other games where, you know, Mario Tennis, by the time new things came out, I had a good time in parts of it, playing it in some ways, but there were just a lot of times where it's like, oh, I wish that there was more of, oh, there's not, okay. And I just like the looming feeling of disappointment also kind of pre-applies to more things that get added. So yeah, I think like you said, as far as like what a full game is, again, Mario Party Superstars doesn't have like just the, you know, this huge amount of breadth to it, but it has just fun gameplay and enough that feels like a full game. And it is, because there has been no so as far as we are aware, that was the full game. But yeah, no, I feel that.
All right, I'm gonna go address this, Justin, like these comments. He said, I think as far as sports games go, it's just a completely different formula because it's a different type of fantasy that you are fulfilling. Yes, you were trying to be better at playing the game, but you're also living through the lives at the lives of the best players in the world, kind of thing. Look at sports games when players' likenesses were stripped due to exclusivity agreements with stuff like 2K games. What I'll say to that is I don't really know anybody that like plays sports games for that. Like when I see people buy like that are 2K heads, Madden heads, FIFA, whatever, like they're not like, oh man, I can't wait to play freaking my career. You know, like they're going online and they're playing against people online. They're doing their franchise. I mean, like they're online franchises. They're doing like leagues with each other. Like my brother is one of those people. Like he's definitely one of those gamers that like buys Madden, buys 2K, and that's his games. You know, like that's what he's going to play every day after work. He's going to come home, he's going to play that. And when he comes home every day after work, he has multiple leagues that he plays in, and like you play the Super Bowl, and like there's the player rankings and all that stuff, right? And a lot of that is the like, oh, I want to get better than this person, and I'm going to win the Super Bowl or whatever, right?
I feel like it's the teams and the players and things though are definitely kind of a ticket in the same way as like Pokemon Trainer is for you or whatever, where it's like the interest in Pokemon Trainer made you want to play that character, but it also just so happens that you love that the way the character plays more than any of the other ones. So it's like it's cyclical in a good way, and I wonder if the same is true where it's like, man, I just love, you know, this team, and like that doesn't playing wise, I'd
say that's
but it's like a Trojan horse.
I'd say in this scenario that's not even really true either, right? Where maybe that's how you started playing Madden and stuff, like with the older games, where it's like again, my brother as an example, somebody that plays games like this. It used to be a thing where it's like he loves the Eagles, so he was going to play it, but now that he's online and he's playing in these leagues and stuff, you don't even get to pick your team, you know, like it's like it's a pool of things where it's like picking a team in like dodgeball where everybody gets a draft pick, and like if you don't get the right draft pick, you don't get to pick your preferred team, but you're going to play anyway because you like the game, you know. So I think that's a another part of it that's a separation. Like, people care about football, so they're going to play football for football.
Also, that feels like a smart psychology tactic or something too, of like not getting to pick your people, so that when you do get to pick your people, it's like, yes, like I finally, if you know, it's like if every time you get to pick the exact team that you want, then wish fulfillment kind of like dies out early because you already had it happen. So then it being like, I can finally get this Gamma team, you know. It's kind of like a run in roguelikes or whatever too, where you don't know what items you're going to get most often. And so at some point you get like an amazing build and it feels great, but like you can't replicate that every time and you don't really have control over that, which is, I don't know, you know, replayability. Yeah. No, it's interesting. And it is, I mean, I guess the big thing here too is just like casual games, arcade games versus sim games, like, and what kind of how that all plays into it is like, with these, I think these, the Nintendo sports games also have the luxury that if they just didn't do the DLC stuff at all, like, I think I agree that them making a fulfilling primary experience and just continuing to support it feels like the best of both worlds. But even if they just did like, you know, just barely enough essentially, or just barely more than enough or something all at once, I feel like in an industry where the like other games can't get away with that quite as well, I feel like it would be fine because it's casual party type games and there would be enough to more or less justify purchases, where right now that's more often the case, more often than not the case, is what I'm trying to say.
Another part of it that I think a lot of people don't give enough thought to is the idea that like like things that people think of as casual start at like as like either it be random or less thought out, or you know, like that sort of thing, where really like a game being like structured more like with a competitive mindset is good for everybody, because a game being designed in a way that it can be competitive makes it consistent. So like even if you're bad at something, whether you know it or not, you want consistency. Like a truly random game is like, oh, you died because, you know, the game's wacky and silly like that, that's why you fell through the stage, LOL. You know, like even casual players don't want that. So I think that that's also a part of this conversation that people need to be better with, is understanding that like even though like competitive players, like the worst example that everybody goes to, where it's like, oh, he's a sweat and he doesn't let me have fun and blah 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 and all that other stuff, like even though that does exist, I think that like competitive games are like good for everybody, because you can like it's easier to have a game that is designed well and with intention behind it and make that into a casual experience than the other way around. You know, like that's a game that's like way more adaptable if everything is thought out well. So it's like,
I mean, I feel like Fall Guys is a really easy example of that too, where it's like there you can be super sweaty in that game,
right?
But also you can just have a good time, win the first round and then die in the second round every time or whatever.
Exactly.
You know, and like it's not that hard to win, run around and just have some kind of reward and have it feel fun. But because yeah, also it's just like
no matter how casual you are, everybody wants to win. You know, like you can have like a lax, you know, like approach to it where it's like it's not the end of the world if I don't win, but when you do win, you're happy about it. You know, like so I think that's also another part of it where people just got to be better at looking at the other side of the aisle across the board. And I think that's another reason why Smash is such a good example for games like this, right? Because it is a game that no, seriously, because it is a game
I'm kidding. No,
that lets you play it however you want to. Like, you know, like there's that whole meme that's like, these people only play with X amount of like percentage of the game, blah, blah, blah. I want to play it the way it was intended. It was intended to play it however you want. That's why they allow you to pick those options. Like if you look at a game like Smash and then you look at Splatoon, like that shows you like, it was intended to allow that. because when people were mad at and still are mad at developers about like how they approach stages when you're playing the game, where it's like, oh, every 2 hours or whatever, it's X mode on X stages or whatever, right? And people are like, how come I can't just pick whatever stage? The developers were like, oh, you know, it's like a 5-star restaurant, like where they like pick your courses for you and stuff like that, right? Like that is when you know, like, oh, this was how the game was intended and that's how we want you to play it or whatever, right?
Right.
When there is this level of variance and you're able to have the experience that you want, I think that that is a W for everybody, is all I'm saying. Like that.
Yep.
Smash is only the example I give because I genuinely don't know another example that does this that well.
I mean, and also because it's for sure the thing that Nintendo themselves is trying to replicate with all of these kinds of games, as far as at least the like DLC. I mean, not even trying to replicate it in some
they
ways
want
because
Splatoon
like,
to
they
be,
don't have the confidence.
they want Splatoon to be Smash Brothers so bad. They wanted to have the scene that Smash has so bad. Like it is the one game, like their one esport that they try to make an esport. And like, I mean, there's some success there. Like people play this game, but it's nowhere near Smash. Like like Smash is liable to have 3,000 entrants, 3,000 in-person entrants. There's no other game that does that. You know, like even like the biggest esports of big esports are usually known as that because they're like the prize pools are really big. Like Call of Duty, right? Like you're not getting 3,000 people in one location, like not playing online, like all flying to one place, staying there for 3 days, paying $100+ just to enter, and then hundreds of dollars on playing, I mean, like flights and hotels and stuff like that just to play this video game. No other game does that. And like I think that like they try in vain to do that with their other games. I think that they need to let Smash be Smash and then learn from it after that, you know.
I feel like honestly one thing that could make Splatoon be that a lot quicker is I'm curious if you're gonna guess what I'm saying. Do you have any idea what I'm gonna say?
No, I don't.
Local multiplayer.
Oh yeah,
That's what I think. Just because I think it's you know, buying a game is a pretty large entry piece into it, and it's one of those things where it's like, again, I might love Splatoon, but I just haven't really taken the time to play it yet, and so I don't know. But
I think Splatoon does have local multiplayer. It has local It doesn't have local multiplayer on the same console.
Exactly, and that's what I mean.
I think like, that's less because it's Splatoon and more because it's like it's a shooter. Like that's commonplace for shooters.
Yeah.
Because like
I mean that's true.
If I'm playing, especially
like, I feel like
a shooter like Splatoon, where it's so heavily based on like motion, like I don't want to play Splatoon split screen. Like I want my own screen for that.
I mean, I can see that, but at least even having a like some kind of mode that includes it, I think would do a pretty good job of introducing a much wider net. In the same way that like I learned about that, like the longest time I only played Smash at friend's house. Like it was a very long time until I owned Smash myself. But then at some point I was like, man, I need to own Smash too, and then I did. And so I feel like there's some of that like there's just a lot of people that could be introduced to it more easily if there was, you know, local multiplayer on a single use in some way, even if they take away certain features to do it, you know, that's fine.
I agree.
Or like local co-op or something.
I think that would be good, but I just think they got to figure out a good way. Like Justin said, Splatoon 1 did have that, but even Splatoon 1 felt that way, where it's like you need your own screen. Exactly. Like no, I don't even mean that. Like even Splatoon 1 feels like you have to have your own screen.
Yeah.
Because one player is playing on the gamepad with their own screen, and another person's playing on the TV with like a Pro controller or Wii U Pro controller. Or the weird thing where it's like you're playing with the controller with the Wii remote attached to it, like that crap.
Oh yeah. The Wii remote nunchuck. That's
like wrapped around it. Like, but yeah,
that's funny.
I don't know. Do we have any other thoughts on? I mean, there's also I've been playing Multiverses a little bit. I'm trying not to play it too
Yeah.
much because I'm supposed to be doing that thing with Bob and Wood and Jackson. But I had to play it so that I could unlock Bugs Bunny because which is
gotcha,
stupid. I don't know if it's a beta thing. I hope it's just a beta thing. But like, you don't get to pick the character that you start with. Like, you start the game. You do the tutorial. It unlock like the first character that they give you is Shaggy, and then after you beat the tutorial, you get Wonder Woman. And I'm like, and I think you also have it's Taz, and then maybe one other character. And I literally like from jump, I was like, yo, I'm either a Bugs Bunny or a Tom and Jerry main. I saw Tom and Jerry; they're like ice climbers. I'm like, nah, I'm out. Like that's cringe. But Bugs Bunny though, Bugs Bunny's more up my alley. I'm down for Bugs Bunny.
It's free to play, right? And it's
yes.
Is it on Switch?
No, it's on everything but Switch. No, literally everything it's on everything but Switch. Which I think is a good call because if I'm somebody that just has a Switch and like I'm trying to play a platform fighter, I'm not picking Multiverses. You know, like, but I think Multiverses has a chance to succeed on platform or with people that don't have a Switch, you know, because like I think that this game is better than Nick All-Star Brawl, but I think it's closer to being Nick All-Star Brawl, significantly closer to being Nick All-Star Brawl than it is Smash Brothers. Like it has, like we talked about before, like it has enough of the care where it's like, oh, characters have dialogue options, and they even have like dialogue options that are specific to them, and like even beyond Smash, like they have a level up system where it's like you play the game and your character gets better because you get new moves and new options for perks and custom, you know, like cosmetics and like all this stuff, right? But the core game just feels mashy and like very and that's another part of it that like has me feel even more so that it's like with the thing about Smash with like how well it's designed makes it feel better for everybody, because like Multiverses, despite being somebody that understands platform fighters, I get what I need to do to win. You know, it still feels like a lot of the time I'm just flailing my arms around and hoping that something connects, you know, and it's not because I don't know what to do and what connects into what, but because the game controls kind of bad. You know, like there's just from what I feel, and maybe this is a beta thing, I don't know, but there's like a lot of times where like Bugs Bunny, I like was trying to figure out like how he works and like just base level combos and stuff like that. He has a combo where he like swings a mallet and that leads into him jumping up in the air and swinging a bat. I know that. I know the inputs for that. But so many times when I try to do that combo, I swing the mallet like 3 times because it didn't register that I pressed the jump button. And this is a game that people, you know, like the whole thing is like, yeah, it's rollback. So that means that the online is objectively great. And it doesn't matter if my internet sucks, it'll feel great. I think a lot of that is because people have bad internet. And rollback is trying to be like, oh, you probably want to mash here. You know, most people mash. So like, we didn't get that whole input that you did. We're just going to assume that you wanted to swing the hammer again. It's rough. It's rough. And I like sent Bob this clip. It was like 2 Iron Giants. Iron Giant has this ability or whatever where people can go inside of Iron Giant, and it was 2 Iron Giants versus a different team. They're irrelevant, but the one Iron Giant went inside the other Iron Giant, and that was a clip. And Bob was like, this game doesn't look good, and I was like, yeah, this is like, it has like Brawlhalla vibes. You know, like,
oh no, yeah,
and that's not great.
No, remember that, was it called Brawl? What was the game that came out like right before Smash Ultimate?
Which one?
Fighting game with
Brawlhalla,
like
Rivals of Aether.
It wasn't either of those. Smash like with, it had Hyperlight Drifter in it. Hyperlight.
Was that not Brawlhalla?
Brawl Out.
Oh yeah.
Different
Okay.
one.
I don't remember that one.
Man, I always feel bad for these games that like are spiritual successors to things that would kind of succeed until the actual thing, like that Brawl Out, for example. It came out in 2018 in the summer, but it came out like, you know, and was announced around the time that Smash was announced, or maybe it was announced before it, but by the time it came out, Smash had been announced. So it's kind of like,
it was definitely announced
wait
before
6
it,
months.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, like, people will be quick to assume that, like, I feel that way because I like Smash, but there's nothing more that I want than for a game to come out and be better than Smash, because that will force Nintendo to improve Smash even more. You know, like, turns out that when corporations have competition, they're forced to be better at what they do. You know, and that's what I want. You know, like, not only would I be down to play a fight, like a platform fighter that is better than Smash, because that's a W. I like platform fighters. I don't just like Smash because of Smash at this point. I just like the formula. But, like, also, I would like the game that I currently like to be better and be given a reason to be better. So every time these games come out, I always try them and want them to be good because I want them to be better, but they never are, man. It's rough.
Yeah, man, I feel that.
Justin said, will it though? Yeah, 100%. Because look at Pokemon after Yokai Watch. Like, the second that they had competition, they're like, all right, okay, we got to try to actually improve now.
And also, I mean, it seems like there's certain divisions probably that want to work harder at that kind of, like Sakurai, you know, as the person creating it or whatever, assuming he creates the next one as well, I think would take the ideas from other things and think about them in certain ways, you know, whatever. Whereas, like, maybe some other franchises wouldn't, you know. But I feel like Smash probably, of all of them. Yeah. But even if new Smash doesn't come out, you know, like, Golden Sun's about to. We know that
it's true.
For 100%.
Definitely
undeniable fact.
That's a fact.
One very.
I mean, like, given the general track record, it happens a lot where and it's to our detriment, really, honestly. Whenever we make a video about, like, yo, you know, it'd be sick, this game. Only game so far that I don't think that's happening anytime soon is Star Fox, unfortunately. But a lot of times it happens a lot when we make a video where it's like, oh, this would be dope. And then they announce it. So maybe you made 2.
Yeah.
So
it's true. I mean, so it's a bit of a non-story for the most part. But I mean, it is one of those things where, like, it could be something. But it's, long story short, Camelot, who, speaking of, I could have transitioned with that. Speaking of Mario sports games, whatever. They developed Mario Golf, like all the Mario Golfs basically, and all the Mario Tennises. And also they developed Golden Sun. And we all know this now because I've talked about it so many times.
It's true.
But yeah, long story short, their website has a Golden Sun render on it. And that is exciting because maybe it means something. Or maybe they're just being trolls. But, like, I don't know. If I were a business, I wouldn't do something like this without reason, you know, I guess. Or at least if people start acknowledging it, I would be like, oh, just sorry.
Yeah,
just thought it was nice.
Disregard,
it
or maybe
good,
they change it again or whatever,
Yeah, exactly. But I don't. It's kind of like the, Retro doing that Metroid Prime new banner thing at some point 6 months ago or something. Like, similarly, it's like, people are going to speculate about it, and if you don't, like, you're not very smart. So, I mean, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if this means something eventually down the road, but who knows? It's just fun that it happened in any case, and Isaac has never looked more HD. I would say better, but I really like the art that whoever that did it, that was in our thumbnail. I thought it looked good. It also looked very much like they just copied Deku from My Hero Academia and just like put Isaac over top of him, but like the pose, the like nose shape and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, that's just Deku for sure. But
that's a fact.
So fun stuff.
I don't know anything about Golden Sun, except for what I do, like, from the video, obviously. But like, if it happens, I'm happy for you and Alec. And probably Kevin
That's
Kenton.
right.
I'd assume he likes. I assume he likes Golden.
And Justin, I assume.
Justin
correct us
too.
if you're wrong.
If Justin likes it.
So yeah, it's fun. That's the whole of that news story. It's very short. Some other little bits. Also, this one, I mean, this is even less of a thing by a decent chunk, but some rumor person is putting some stuff about F-Zero out. Even for a rumor person, feels very vague. So I'm not going to give it any credibility. But yeah, there's that. It's out there.
Is it like a rumor person
Time will
that is noteworthy?
So it's,
and
a
I
rumor
don't mean
person
like
that,
in the sense that it's like they guessed this thing right.
Right.
You know, because like we're rumor people if that's if that's the case.
It's a rumor person that has been is recent but surprisingly accurate on multiple occasions since their inception this year. So yeah, I'm not going to give it a whole lot, but it's like specifically predicting the
for me to give people weight like that, they had to
couple
be
things.
a freaking like an Emily Rogers, somebody that's been in this game for years. You know, like veteran.
And it's definitely not that unless they just create a new profile or whatever. But I mean, on the plus side, at least it's somewhere more in the middle compared to from the like Emily Rogers to Samus Hunter kind of thing. There seem to be somewhere more in the middle of that. But even then, the rumor is vague enough itself that I'm just mentioning it because it's there. But real news, as of like 5 minutes before we started recording, there's new games on NES and SNES. So look at that.
True.
Fighter's History, never heard of that. Kirby's Avalanche, I've heard of Kirby. And Diva Story 6, Imperial of Nersarchia.
Almost
I don't
forgot.
know what that is.
Almost forgot
Even a
this
little
is a
bit.
video podcast and I could show it. I'm going to show it.
You should do that.
I'm going to do it. I did it. Here it is. Here's Fighter's History. I've never seen this game in my life. It looks like we have Street Fighter at home.
Yeah. Checks out.
I don't like it. Kirby's Avalanche. I've never heard of this game, which is crazy because it's a Kirby game.
Looks like Puyo, kind of. Maybe.
I just see dialogue. Oh yeah, looks like freaking Mean Bean Machine.
Yeah.
And then here's the NES game. I don't know how to say that. Hey, it has a password input. That's the NES thing.
Yep.
There
it is.
All right, those are the games. I'm not going to play them. Are you going to play them?
Nope.
All right. Well,
No.
there it is.
I might try Kirby's Avalanche once, but probably won't even do that. So that's fine. But you know what? There are games that we are actually playing, and some of those even are on NSO. For example, 2 that I played this week. Let's talk about some games. You know,
Okay.
Pokemon Puzzle League. Played that a good bit. I mean, a good bit's an exaggeration a little bit, but I played it some. I beat easy on the first try, no continues. It went great.
Nice.
I beat normal with like 13 continues.
Oh my god!
Because I'm not great at it. But I don't know how to do the combos very well. Like I can get. So it's tricky too. Having played like Candy Crush or whatever in the past, the difference between Tetris Effect style, panel to pawn style things, right? I think it's like panel to pawn, and versus like Candy Crush things is that it's still like match 3, match 4, match 5, whatever. But you can only, like, your 2 that you're swapping can only be left and right from each other, not up and down from each other. So my eyes keep gravitating towards combos that are like, you know, that I would have to switch it and do up and down instead of left and right, but that doesn't work. So I'm learning. But yeah, it's fun. I'm having a good time with it. I
never played that game.
probably
I saw cutscenes
more here and there.
I feel like I saw that game as a youth in Blockbuster on the TV. And there it had crunchy audio of like the anime. It was like Ash sounded like he was like talking from a AM radio or something.
Checks out.
That's all I know about that game. And it's probably all I ever will know about that game. Because I have no intent to play
That
it.
works.
So, what's the other NSO game you're playing? Ocarina of Time?
I lied. There's 3 because Ocarina of Time is one of them. I am I'm in the Fire Temple now. So
nice. There's
that. But yeah, I haven't played a ton of that since last week. Just beat the Forest Temple, wandered around a little bit, got to the Fire Temple. Here we are. So did that. But the other one, for no good reason at all, I decided that I would just see what Star Tropics was all about.
I forgot that was even on NSO.
Yep, and it is. And that's one of those where I would like to say, like, man, it would be fun to see Star Tropics come back and them do, like, modernize it and blah, blah, blah.
What even is Star Tropics? Like,
there is very much nothing to write home about.
Like, what? Like, who's a character from Star Tropics?
Could not tell you. Main kid, that's the character from it. And then Mr. Star Tropics, Mr. Trop. You got it, guys. Thank you. No, I mean it's like I guess kind of in a Zelda style, sort of. Not quite. Okay, so like some of the game, there's overworld kind of stuff where you're going around. It's kind of like cross between Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 is maybe a little bit better way of putting it, where you like go around on the overworld and there's no random encounters or anything on the overworld, but like you walk into, NES versions of houses and stuff, and which means some squares on screen. Yep. And you talk to a person and they say the one thing over and over, and that's fun. And then there's janky ways of having to get in and out of some places. Long story short, that's that. You're trying to like figure out the next place to go, like little kind of puzzly, but mostly just obtuse. And then there's some dungeons, and the dungeons are kind of like Zelda 1 dungeons ish, in that but they don't have puzzles basically at all. Like there's a couple bits where it's like there's
like a boss rush.
It like not even boss, just like enemy rush, and then I mean like you're in a room, kill all the enemies in this room, move to the next, and then the door opens. Move to the next
so
room,
it's like an Uncharted game. Got you. Makes sense. Fair enough.
Yeah. And then like man, the second boss in the game, I just used the rewind feature a whole bunch because I'm not about to die and have to retry things. I actually beating that boss would take so long if like doing it correctly. So it's like an octopus kind of thing, and like shoots rocks at you, and then it very briefly swims up to you have 5 podiums in the water or whatever that you like can jump from one to the other, and so it just goes like shooting things wherever you are, and you just kind of have to jump around, and then eventually
you can jump in this game?
You can jump. Kind of. Well, really, it's just jumping between those podiums. And
is it Zelda jump? Is that kind of jump?
It's like Zelda jump. Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's just that you can jump from like a space, and then there's a gap platform, so you can jump between those.
Yep.
But seriously, I had to hit this guy like probably 20 times, and I'm which. The opportunities that he gave me were so slim that like to get not any of them, but most of them, I had to rewind to just know where he was coming. And then, long story short, it was just like, man, this is janky. And it's an NES game. So like, whereas now with the hindsight of Zelda as a franchise, I can impart like more Tale of Zelda lore and stuff over top of Zelda 1.
Yeah.
You really have to use your imagination even in that game, which is like pretty well done for an NES game to have like lore and like interesting enemies and stuff like that. And this is much less so that case. And we don't have anything to retroactively imagine what's going on in the world. So it's just kind of a boring world.
Is there lore? I feel like the original Zelda is like, oh man, it's like, yo, it's scary out there, dude. Here, take this sword. take this weapon, small child, kill things.
Yep.
And then you find things
I mean,
to
there's
kill, and then you kill
some
them.
stuff, but it's
And then
it's
you
mostly
get
that,
3
yeah.
triangles, and then the game's over.
You get 9 triangles in Zelda 1.
Oh, yeah,
It's-
true.
it's
But I mean, like,
silly
the
how
3
many
triangles
you
at the end of the game where he's holding up in the
Yeah,
air, and
yeah.
he's like, I have the good triangles.
get.
Yeah, exactly.
We love triangles, honestly. Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's the shapes of power. Yeah.
And-
So all that
and,
said,
like,
Star
courage
Tropics
and power.
and courage and wisdom.
Is it wisdom? I thought it was. Did you already say power? I don't remember it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are
Together,
the ones.
we-
Yeah. Triangles.
So yeah, all that said, Star Tropics, I'm glad that I have a better picture of it now, because the way I understood it was that it was more interesting than
Mega
it
Man
was.
said, "I'm more of a square person." That's crazy because squares are just 2 triangles put together. You ever think about that? You ever think about that?
So deep.
Maybe even 4.
Yeah, Illuminati
Could
also.
be
Look
4
at
if they
that.
wanted it. That's how versatile triangles are, man. You can make almost anything out
much.
of a triangle because there's so many different kinds.
Yeah, and they did the N64.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, then again, I think
That game looks
technically
terrible, but
still everything,
Yeah.
right? Like if
I mean-
it's kind of crazy that everything's made out of triangles.
yeah.
Even in the real
everything's a
world.
triangle. Yo, that's what I was about to say. The Illuminati. The freaking Mark put Illuminati gif.
Yeah.
You know, I just realized
See,
I could put that on the screen. But I didn't think to do it. I'll do it next time. I'll do it next time.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, those are those ones. I played some other stuff, but I'll give you a turn to say some words. about
Okay.
things you're playing.
So there's like really two layers to my game that I played. Games that I play. I mean, I played. So to begin of the week for stream, I played Smash. I played World of Light, Nuzlocke sort of situation. I gotta
Interesting.
take a whole nother approach to that because it didn't go great. It's called a light lock. You play World of Light, and then it's like you can use every character until they die once. I mean, once they die, you can't use them no more. It's like a regular Nuzlocke.
As in when you say die, do you mean lose like one stock?
Literally, they die. Like you only get 1 stock. So once they die, you're out of here. Or like just if you lose, because like sometimes you lose a challenge and you don't technically die, but you lost that character.
Right. Yeah. Like there's a time limit or something.
Yeah,
along those lines.
exactly. So generally, I do all right. You know, I know how to play Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, but there's just freaking World of Light. So like they have stuff like stamina battles and stuff like that, and it's like it's cringe. And like you got to use certain spirits to like try to circumvent that and give yourself more stamina or like take away the cringe. But like you know, it's like it's a whole freaking thing. So I gotta be less reckless and play the game like I don't know how to play the game, rather than like play the game with the hubris that I am known for in Nuzlocke. And we'll see how that
Speaking
goes.
of which, do we how? I can't. I know you had to rebuild
Did I not talk
the last
about the
time
Nuzlocke?
Pokemon Nuzlocke.
Did I not talk about
I
that?
think
If I didn't talk, I beat it, man. I did it. I did the thing.
Oh,
I thought I did
nice.
talk about this because didn't I talk about Bob Wolf?
last time was yes, but I think you had just gotten Bob Wolf. I think you had to rebuild was the last.
I thought
That's the last thing I remember.
Because I don't know, man. I got Bob.
Maybe
Wolf.
you did, and I'm just blanking.
I got Bob Wolf, and he's
Yeah.
the only one that died. But he was an integral part because he set up the stealth rock, and that made it easier for freaking. I
you did talk about that.
definitely told you this because I was
Yeah,
talking about Bev Cannon.
Maybe I just forgot that
was
was the last game.
Yep.
I for some reason I thought that was not the last fight. So okay,
Yeah, no,
good
the
job.
last
You did
one
it.
was
Oh,
because
no, you did.
freaking Eternatus was the one that cleared out my team, and that's why I had to rebuild because
Yeah,
Eternatus was being a little B word. So I had to go and
Bossy.
build my team back. Yeah,
brazen.
yep, that one. So I had to go through and
Never once used the word.
and
Carry on. But
and I had to rebuild, and I rebuilt, and Bob Wolf died. But everybody else lived, and that was cool. So yeah, I did that. Other than that, I played Stray, the cat game. I went in the attic and I got my PlayStation 5. Because for those of y'all that don't know, my PlayStation 5 has been in the attic since I've moved here. Because I have no reason to play it. Because I have an Xbox Series X and that's way easier to have on my desk, and it plays all the games that are out that matter. Because neither one of them are getting exclusives right now that matter. Until now, Stray is an exclusive on the PlayStation 5, and it's on PC, but I don't have PC. I'm not a nerd. You know what I mean?
True.
So I freaking got my PlayStation 5, and brief annoyance because I forgot that the HDMI cable that came with my PlayStation 5 doesn't work with my PlayStation 5. So when I came downstairs and I hooked it up, it wasn't working, and I reminded myself, I was like, oh yeah, Sony is a terrible company. So I had to take my Xbox's HDMI and plug it into my PlayStation to get my PlayStation to work. So I did that.
Garbage.
And yeah, it's very stupid. And I played Stray. This is a game that is heavily carried by bias for animals, because I would hate this game if it was not Cute Cat. But it is Cute Cat, so it's fine. It's a Zelda game. It's like you literally have a Navi. I don't know where I'm going 90% of the time, but along the way, when I don't know where I'm going, I could freaking scratch up a rug, or knock over cans, or freaking somehow order a beverage from a vending machine. I don't know how a cat knows how to do that, but I can meow
really
incessantly.
Specifically when it comes to vending machines.
It's true. I'm kind of mad that there's a meow button, but there's not a hiss button. I think that was a missed opportunity. I think that they should put a hiss button in the video.
DLC.
Yeah.
That's the upcoming thing.
Is
it a game that you think you're going to keep playing?
It's 5 hours apparently, so I'll probably play it. I'll probably finish it on stream. But again, it apparently gets better. Past where I'm at, the game gets more fun, or more interesting. Hopefully I get to that part. But I'm still at a point where I'm I don't know where the game wants me to go. And I along the way. I feel I would if it wasn't cat game, if it wasn't the thing that is keeping me playing it, it would be easier to make progress faster because I wouldn't get distracted by doing a random dumb cat thing. I freaking found a bag and put the bag on my head, and your controls get all messed up because you can't see, man. So it's freaking up and down and left and right, and it doesn't even stay that way because I was I'm going to play the whole game with this bag on my head, and the controls are they felt I didn't have the bag on my head for long enough to completely figure it out, but it felt they just kept switching at random rather than it being up is always right, it was just I pressed up one time and it made me go backwards, and I pushed it again and it made me go right. So I'm what the heck, what's going on? And then the bag came off my head and I was very upset because I was yo, I want to play the whole game like that.
It reminds me of, I think in Earthbound you can get a poison mushroom or whatever. Oh, it's an item in Smash, I think, right? And it's, or maybe it's not a poison mushroom.
Oh, and
some kind of mushroom on your head.
No, I specifically got a bag on my head. That's why the controls were like that, because the cat couldn't see. But it's just a normal game. Well, it's a Zelda game because I mentioned this with I was when you're talking about Star Tropics, because Stray has that where it doesn't have a jump button, but sometimes you got to jump and then you walk up and then it's press X to jump or whatever. And I hate that because it's so dumb, because if you had to so if there's if there's options between where you can jump. Say there's a low area that I can jump to, but then there's an area on top of that. To be able to jump to the high area, you have to very specifically be in the line of sight of that, or you can't jump there. And it's so annoying. There's just a lot of stuff like that. But it's cat, so that's cool.
Yep. No, that those kinds of things in games are always really annoying when like, and I know that was a thing in Elden Ring where like for the first time ever you could jump in a Souls game, but it's like there are times where you can kind of jump in old ones, but now you just like have a jump button, kind of like in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But it's like it feels weird all of a sudden to be able to do it because you're so used to just the limiting factor of like not being able to. But like anytime, you know, the fact that Link can do just a straight up backflip in Ocarina of Time or plenty of other Zelda games, but can't just jump for the sake of it is very silly.
Yeah, super dumb.
And that's why I'm glad about it in Breath of the Wild. I did. Oh, okay. So here's just rapid fire of some games. Played like 10 minutes of Breath of the Wild because I wanted to show Ashley what a Korok was. And so I opened up her save file that she started and I was like, and this is a Korok. Aren't they so cute? And now I'm going to go do this thing and go do this. And
Wait, how come you couldn't use Google.com to show her a Korok?
Because it's so much more fun to go and play it myself. And I knew she was still in the opening area and stuff on the Great Plateau. So I found the first one where everybody found in the first 10-minute demo at E3 in 2016 or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, that was fun. Briefly, we played Mario Kart the other day, which was very, very fun with all you guys.
It's true, we did.
And there's one other thing that I know and I'm gonna get to, but I felt like there was something else.
Golden Sun, you still playing that? A
little bit.
What did you call it before?
Dark Dawn. Yep.
Is that all you called it? I thought you called it like some kind of shorthand. That I was like, what?
I think I just called it Dark Dawn. I didn't call it Golden Sun Dark Dawn, and then it was confusing.
I thought you said like Dawn or something like that. I forgot what you said.
Maybe I did.
Because I feel like if you just said Dark Dawn, I would have understood that. But I just distinctly remember not knowing what you were talking about.
It's my the DS is on my bedside table, and more often than not this week, once I've gotten up to bed, I've hit the hay. So that's it. I haven't made much progress in that game. But the one I did play is I played the first like 3 hours or so of Bayonetta. Because I was just like, oh, let's see what this game's all about. So yeah, I downloaded it off your profile and on, I don't know, some like Saturday or something, maybe last week, and just played like maybe not the first 3 hours, but like maybe like 2.5 hours or 2 hours, something like that. But like, I think I'm on chapter 3 now. I don't know how many chapters there are, but it feels like a 10 chapter kind of situation, probably.
I want to say there's like 13, but
okay.
That might just be a random number I'm pulling out of my head, but I think it's somewhere around there.
Gotcha. So, but yeah, played some of that. Here's some thoughts. Number one, it's definitely like the partial nudity thing or whatever is just not as big of a deal as,
it's not
as it like the conversation makes it out to be. So that's just a funny thing that I noticed.
I mean, the only time that I think it would matter is if you're 7. You know, like if you're a child that shouldn't be playing the game, but you want to convince your parent to let you play. Yeah, exactly. But you want, which like, in the grand scheme of things means nothing. Cause like, I think the first time I ever played Grand Theft Auto, I was like 7. You know, like freaking. That only matters at GameStop. People still buy their kids games that they should not be playing.
I mean, all things considered, I think, you know, probably you end up seeing more skin in maybe a Marvel movie or two here or there, you know, like maybe not in terms of frequency, but at least as much.
There's just straight up like commercials, regular TV shows and stuff like that you know, are often worse.
Yeah. So it's just funny that it gets talked about, but nevertheless, gameplay wise though, it's fun to play, like just a fun hack and slash and stuff, and the combos are neat, and like I don't feel like I'm good enough at the combos oftentimes to like consistently do the one thing that I'm trying to do, but it's pretty button mashy, so it doesn't really matter. And like more often than not, it's like, yeah, that's kind of roughly what I was trying to do. You know, it's like one of the 3 options of things I was going for, but I'm not like memorizing combos or anything like that. It's otherwise game is just super over the top, and like the Hideki Kamiya silliness is very much intact. And like not that I even know that much of his stuff. Like I think the only other game of his that I've played is Okami. I'm pretty sure it was Hideki Kamiya.
Wasn't Beautiful Joe that too? Did you ever play Beautiful Joe?
I think so. I just never played that one.
Wow.
I have it technically. I think I have 1 and 2.
Beautiful Joe is sick,
really?
Dude. Freaking game is dope.
Nice. No, yeah, I mean, like I said, that's one of my GameCube games that I bought for my friends and is just sitting in my entertainment center. You should play it.
It's cool. I like that game a lot. It's a good game.
But yeah, so all things considered, Bayonetta, it's a fun time. I've heard Bayonetta 2 is better than Bayonetta 1.
Yeah, I would say that.
And yeah, I could see that. There's definitely areas where I could see it be improved for sure, but it feels like it's differing on what it's trying to do pretty consistently across the board. And that's, that's all you can really ask for in a game. So
the Bayonetta 1's not bad.
It's a good job.
Bayonetta 2 is just better.
No, yeah, it seems good. And I like that there's, at the beginning, it made it seem like there wasn't going to be, like walking around exploration kind of things, just like the prologue situation. I mean, it's a tutorial at the beginning, so but the way it was doing story and stuff, it felt like it was going to go like almost more like a fighting game style narrative where it was going to be cutscene, fight some people, cutscene, fight some people, and that's not the case. And there's like a little bit of exploration, or I mean, there's a decent amount of exploration and like some puzzles, kind of, and stuff like that.
I mean, it's an action game,
so yeah,
so it makes sense.
Done well.
Yep.
And I think that's it for games I'm playing.
Sure. Also playing Smash. I freaking went to the local last week, and I'm mad at me. Because I could have did so much better. I freaking lost to dude my winner side. So I went 2-2, which is like fine, like.
Does that mean you won against two people and lost against two people?
Yeah, exactly. Because the Smash tournaments are double elimination. So like there's winner side and then loser side. I won. I lost my first winners round, which was annoying. But I played again. I played against the person that won the freaking tournament, and I almost brought it back. So mad. But I learned multiple lessons, which is a lot of what this even is for. Like, I don't really care that much about, because like I eventually just want to be able to like go to like actual like Smash majors and do fine. Like I don't really care about winning those. I just want to like have a reason to go and like do all right, so that's most of why I'm going to locals, is like to figure out what feels comfortable in that environment, because it's very different than playing it in my very controlled like room. So it's like I was like, that was part of it where it was like, so I did the my first round of winners, and my whole thing, the first thing I wanted to accomplish in that match was like, okay, off rip, I want to figure out what feels better between hearing the game or like just do it. Like I bought these headphones and turning on the noise canceling and just blasting music and not hearing the game. So I tried that winners round hearing the game. That didn't go great, because it's like usually I'm listening and I hear the game, but I don't hear all this freaking background. Like it's in a mall, which I mean the store in the mall is like, it's so the first location for this like game store or whatever was like in like a GameStop in a mall size like like lot, right? But it got so big that they like took like the Macy's size lot and put it in there. So like it's a big venue, like there's a lot of people in there and they are very loud. So it turned out it was better to just listen to music and not hear the game, because like I don't really need to hear the game so much as I just need the vibration, because then I know, oh, I got hit, or I need to hit them, or I need to parry here, or blah blah. Like hearing the game does help me, but it's not imperative so much as like being able to hear myself think is. And I couldn't hear myself think over people yelling at the top of their lungs. Especially in like that sort of situation where people are like behind your shoulder cheering for their friend and stuff, you know, like it's like, all right.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that I learned, but also something that I was talking to people like in chat where it's like, I need to play Min Min more. Because I think Min Min is a much better bracket
counter pick.
Yeah. But also I think Min Min's just a better bracket character than Pokemon Trainer is, in the sense that like it's harder to play Pokemon Trainer than it is Min Min. You know, like there's I think that Min Min is hard in a different way. Like I think that Min Min is like a character that is hard to play if you're used to playing just Smash normally. Which is why I feel like I need to play Min Min more so that I can play her and not have to think even more than I have to think with a character that in theory I need to think more to play, if that makes sense. Like I just don't have Min Min warmed up, so I don't feel comfortable picking her in bracket. Even though like I'll be playing matchups that like in theory, like a lot of people think that Pokemon Trainer loses, but I feel more comfortable playing Pokemon Trainer in every matchup because I play Pokemon Trainer so much that like even if it's a matchup that is like 90-10 in Min Min's favor, and it's like freaking like 70-30 in the other character's favor for PT, I much rather go I much rather go PT because I know what to do. My hands know what to do when I see the character on the screen. So I want to like, on top of the whole thing that I was already talking about, just like when I play the game and like streams and stuff, be less nice about it and just like take every opportunity I can to like end people's stocks, but also just play Min Min more, so that my Min Min feels more fresh and I can use her in situations that I need to. But that said, I did okay in the bracket, and that's most of why I feel the way that I do, because it's like I knew right off the bat that I could have did better. Like it wasn't even a thing that's like, oh well, if I get better at the game, it's like, no, if I did this again today I would do better. Because there's those two things that I knew, where it was like, I know now that I should like listen to music and then cut out the background noise, and like I know now, which takes a little bit more prep, but not that much more prep to make sure my Min Min is warm. So this week, I think I can go. I'm pretty sure I can go. I don't know. There might be something I have to do tomorrow, but we'll see. What I want to do is actually start Min Min. Because again, I think Min Min's just a skill check, just inherently. Like there's just a lot of people that don't even know how to fight Min Min. So I'm just gonna start with Min Min, and like if I win with Min Min, then just go all Min Min for until I don't, and then go PT, because like PT, like I usually keep them warm, but on top of that, I just have a better understanding of that character and what they want to do. So I want to try that, and that's going to be my next test. And hopefully I do better than 2-2. That'd be sick.
Out of, and how many people, like how many, how big is the bracket?
It's like 50 people, somewhere around there.
So you'd have to win
like 6-7 matches or something like that. Well, it depends on when you go. It depends on when you go in the losers. Because like, or if you go in the losers, like if I just win the whole time and I don't go in the losers, I think I had to maybe win like 6 matches. But if I go in the losers, like if you go in the losers round 1, you got to play like 15 matches, you know, like, because everybody gets 2 chances. So like you're playing everybody that lost, and then you get to a certain point in the bracket where it's like, okay, and then they have to lose again, and you know, like that sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of it is dependent on like if you go in the losers and you can win.
You can win from losers, right?
Yes. So the way that it works is like there's polls, and then that's like narrowing it down to like top 16 or whatever, right? And then from top 16 you go top 8, top 4, so on and so forth. The person that wins the losers bracket then goes into, and the person that wins the loser bracket is like the winner, the loser of the winners finals match. So like when you get to the end of the winners bracket, the person that loses that fights the person that won the winners bracket. So in theory, if you won that say you won the winners bracket or whatever, and then you beat the guy that lost or you won the losers bracket and you beat the guy that lost in winners. And you're in grand finals. You fight the guy, and this happens either way. Like whoever wins out of the whole losers thing, but that's just in theory. If you lost early, you could still like win the whole thing. You go to grand finals, and then there's what's called a reset. So like it's usually like most Smash tournaments, it's best of 5. So whoever wins 3 matches first.
Gotcha.
You have to win the reset, which is basically putting the person that's in winners and grand finals in losers. So then you have to win that set, and then the person that wins that wins the tournament. So it's a lot harder to win from losers.
Yeah, man.
Because you have less chances. So like it just like you would just inherently have a better placement if you win. I mean, like if you go to losers later, or not at all, obviously.
Right.
So like when I did online tournaments, me and Mars both had the same amount of wins and losses. Like I think we both went the last time when we both did it, I think we went 4-2. Both of us did. But he had a better placement than me because he went to losers later. So like
gotcha.
that like determines like where you are in the bracket. Or what your placement is at the end of the day. So yeah, hopefully I do better. That's a grand, like I don't really care if I win. If I do win, that's hype. Because like if I have that confidence boost of like, okay, I know I can win a bracket, I'm farming people after that. Like that is just free money at that point. But like I'm not really going to the locals to win. I just want to learn. So we'll see. Is that it for games that we're playing?
That is games that we're playing.
Okay.
And now we're playing the questions.
It's true. Did you pull the question from last week? Somebody asked.
Oh no, I totally forgot. I think it was Poofy Rain.
Yeah.
Let me go get that one. Where will I find that? I'm just gonna look. Well, here I'll start asking the first question. You can start answering it, and I'll look for the question. Trevor asked, "Have you ever gone into a game expecting to hate it and then actually really enjoy it? If so, what game and what about it surprised you?"
I mean, the closest that I've got to that, I would say, is like Three Houses. Because like I don't really feel like I usually have a pretty good gauge of like whether I'm going to like a game or not. And like it's rare that I go into a game thinking that I'm gonna like. It's rare that I go into a game that I think I'm gonna hate, because like if I think I'm gonna hate it, I'm probably gonna hate it. But like there's definitely examples of like games that I'm like, I don't think this is, or these types of games aren't usually for me, but something about it makes me want to try it. So like that would be Fire Emblem, where it was like I didn't think I was going to hate it, but I also wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. So yeah, Fire Emblem will be the closest I get to that.
I think it depends in some regards. Like the games that have the most differential between expecting to not care about it versus like it or whatever, like depends on how much I was expecting to not like it versus, like it's more about the difference, I guess, than all that said. I didn't know if I was going to care one way or another about Divinity Original Sin 2. And then I played it and I really, really, really liked it. So that one was one that like the negative side of it wasn't too strong. It was more like, maybe it's just not going to be for me. But the positive side was like really high up there. But then there's some other games I feel like that I expected to like less than that and, liked a decent amount, even if I didn't like love them or whatever. I can't think of what those would be off the top of my head, though. I had some that came to mind earlier, but I can't really think of. Hang on. I'm looking at the list of games that I have here. Animal Crossing, honestly. That's probably, I feel like that's probably one of the strongest contenders for me.
I remember that whole saga. I knew.
And that one, like, I don't know that, again, like, it didn't hit the same highs comparatively, but I think my expectations of it were lower, or at least more like,
you thought that you weren't going to like it. Like, you thought that it was going to be a game that
I thought I was going to fall off it pretty quick.
Yeah.
but it was a nice old time.
Yep.
Yeah. Then there's some other games kind of along those similar kinds of lines, like Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. I was really excited about the big picture kind of the Breath of the Wild side of it, but like I was like, I don't know, gameplay wise, I probably am not going to care. But I beat the game and I had a great time doing it. So
nice.
There you go. And some other ones, but yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah,
I got Poopy Wings Passion. I found it.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, honestly, similarly, I liked Three Houses even more than I thought I was going to. Like, I was like pretty sure I was going to enjoy it, but it was way higher up there than I was expecting.
Yeah, I feel like Three Houses is a you game though. Like, it's definitely not a me game. So like that's
yeah,
why
totally.
it's like the closest that I could think of. Because like, again, like usually if I think I'm not gonna like a game, probably not gonna like it. And it's not even a thing of like not liking it and not wanting to like it and then coming in and being mad and being like, this sucks, see, you know, trying to prove myself right sort of thing. Because I think a lot of people do that. But it's just like, no, I just know myself. So I know that like, and I know enough about game marketing or just marketing period to be able to like, oh, okay, this was what this game is about. And does this align with things that I usually like or don't like? And, you know, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely. I mean, it's, you know, it's. Whereas I again remember one of my friends who was excited about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but just like had not watched very much of the material about it, and I was like, "Are you sure you're excited about it?" He's like, "Yeah, man, so excited!" And then played it, and he was like, fell off within an hour or so, which, you know, is even for any game, honestly, that's not very much, but especially for a Xenoblade kind of game. I was like, yeah, no, I could have told you that much. I'm sorry, I should have jumped in. Whereas, but like for me, if there's a game that I'm not sure about like that, I'll look into it a decent amount, with the exception of like, again, for Division Original Sin, I was interested in finding out about it, but it was the fact that we got a review code that I just didn't even look into it anymore, and then I just played it off of that, and then
they hooked it up. They sent us that game 2 times.
They did, and I've got a blanket from them too. That's over.
That's a fact.
But I don't feel like getting it, so appreciate y'all. All right, so Poofy Rain during the week asked, would you want Nintendo to bring back or keep going Nintendo Selects, and what game would you be in your first lineup? What game would be in your first lineup?
I mean, yes, but more so for other people, you know, because like even removed from the whole thing of like just knowing that Nintendo games usually take a while to go on sale. I also know that like if I want to play a game, I'm going to play it when it comes out, and if I don't play it past then, I'm probably never going to play it. So like it wouldn't have a lot of use for me, because like the $20, you know, price point is not enough justification for me to dedicate X amount of hours to playing through this game. And I don't really care about having the game. You know what I mean? Like if I don't want to play it, I don't care about having it, because I know a lot of people also just like owning things, you know, like just the knowledge that they have this game, even if they never want to play it. That's not me. So like me personally, no, I don't care. But for other people, you know, like, and mostly for like people that can't like feasibly afford them otherwise, you know, that's more so what I care about.
Yep.
So I would be down, like, but I don't need it. Go for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like the franchises where it would be particularly helpful sometimes is the ones that wouldn't get Nintendo Selects too, because the ones that are going to get it for sure would be like, I mean, I don't know about for sure, but it seems like historically it's been ones that are great sellers. And so it's like, now everybody can get it for real cheap, you know, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and that kind of stuff. And those games are not hurting for extra sales, you know, like great. I would love for everybody to have access to playing them. That's great. You know, honestly, the couple of friends that I loaned my own cartridge to, it's like, yeah, I want you to get to keep playing it if you want without having to borrow mine. But
I wonder what that would even do, you know, like if so in theory, say they're like, okay, this is the most sales that we're going to get out of Breath of the Wild for the $60 price point. And they do the Sony thing and they're like, all right, this game's $10.
Yeah.
Do you think that it would sell 30 million more copies, you know, like, or
Right.
like, I think what would happen is they might get another like 10%. They might get another 3 million out of that,
Yeah,
maybe. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think yeah, that there a couple cases I could see is that like I could see myself buying it for somebody now, or like somebody buying us because like I had it digitally but I want it physically too, or that kind of thing, like you talked about, where like having
Yeah.
owning it or whatever, that kind of thing. And then of course there are some people who hadn't tried it and would want to buy it, but like for the most part, yeah, especially those biggest games already, I don't think it's like those are system sellers. Those are games that people are buying consoles. I mean, I guess less so buying it for it now, but like a cumulative system seller kind of thing for sure. So like, yeah, it's probably not going to move the needle as much in that regard. Where I do think it would be a lot more helpful is the ones that feel a little bit less likely, but like the Pikmin 3s of the world or something like that, where somebody, is kind of curious about it and the franchise hasn't seen like the most sales ever. But for $20, be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll play a first party game for $20. And then at that point they're introduced to a series that they, can learn to enjoy and all those kinds of things. But like, I just don't know that that's necessarily going to happen. And that's not for me. Like I'll think about
I also
pick one for me. But.
Again, I also wonder if that's even feasible for them. Like if it's, because like there's a drastic difference. Like people don't think about this. I mean, rightfully so, because like the money's not their money. But like, is it even profitable for them at that point? Like. Right. Nobody thinks about the fact that to make the same amount of money, they need to sell 3 times the amount of games. Like, is the $20 price point enough to sell 3 times more? I don't think that that's usually true.
And I think, the question too is like, so that, and the benefit for doing it in some ways, benefit with an asterisk, for doing it for franchises that it's like we're just trying to get this into more people's hands, get people to enjoy it more and stuff like that. In some ways it's like, yeah, that's helpful. Then more people are buying it because it's cheaper. So like even if you get twice the number of sales, you're making less money than you would on that one game, but then in the future maybe more people will buy it. However, the Mario Sports situation from earlier, where then people start seeing, at least the people that bought Pikmin 3 as a Nintendo Select game for $20 now view Pikmin as a $20 franchise,
exactly. Yep.
kind of a thing. And then it's like harder to sell future games, I don't know if that's exactly the way, but like, I mean, Ubisoft games,
I think Ubisoft
I know they go on sale.
I think Ubisoft does or tries to do the Sony thing. Where I think that Sony strategy is generally like, okay, we're going to have these games and now it's going to be $70 and we're going to keep it $70 for like a year. And then we're going to like gradually drop the price and maybe even put it in like PlayStation Plus collections and stuff like that. Right. So like you have a lot of people that have like the first hit is free sort of situation, and then you come out with a game that in theory is drastically better than that. And it's like, all right, pay full price for it now, and then they just do that at infinitum. But I don't know how successful that is and we'll probably never know, because I can't see their books, like I don't know how many of the 30 million Spider-Man PlayStation 4 copies or whatever are $30 purchases or $60 purchases, Yep. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely hurts them in the long run in some ways.
I mean, but it doesn't because like we don't know. Like if we knew,
right? That's
like,
true.
If we knew the books behind it, then I think it would look more hurtful. Because they're definitely like profitable, But
I mean, I guess more hurts them in the long run in that people then have expectations that there's going to be price drops, and so
they don't buy it. Yeah, like it hurts them. It hurts them in like a speculative way where it's like you could make more money if people didn't view your franchise as a $30 franchise.
Yeah, right, exactly. For me, in terms of answering the question of like what Nintendo selects, so yes, I do think it should come back, and I think that would be great. Nintendo Select game that I would want, Paper Mario Origami King, so that I can have a copy that I buy, because I just have played
true.
yours
You
at this
choose
point,
mine.
and that's it. And like, I'm not going to pay $60 to have that game.
Yeah, have a game you already
that I've already
beat.
played,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to play a game. But like, if it was $20, I'd be like, yeah, sure, just like to have it in the collection, and I'd feel fine about that. Yeah. Otherwise, like for the most part, I feel the majority of games that of Nintendo's games specifically that I want, I've got, and then the other ones, even if they were $20, maybe I wouldn't get. Like I'm just looking through the list of first party releases now, and like WarioWare, Get It Together. Well, that was $40 anyway, right? Or 50? I don't remember. However much it was, I wouldn't get that if it was,
I think,
any price. And various other examples like that. So, but yeah, good question.
that is kind of funny though. Where like everybody had the whole, again, the speculative thing about 1-2 Switch, right? Where they're like, if 1-2 Switch was a WarioWare game and it was cheaper, then it would have sold X amount of million units. 1-2 Switch sold better than WarioWare Get It Together, and it's both of those things. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. How many? How much did WarioWare Get It Together sell? Actually, did he?
I think they said it was like it's definitely more than 1 million.
1.27.
Yeah. 1-2
So-
Switch sold like 4 times
that's-
that. Like,
Yeah. Honestly, this is the thing that sucks a little bit, is like we're never probably going to get a new updated number on WarioWare, because I don't know that it's ever going to sell 1 million.
it has to
another
sell
year.
exactly. So like,
Well,
yeah, like it could eventually get to freaking 6 million copies, but we'll never know that unless like it's like Death by 1,000 Cuts sells enough to be in the top 10, and then we'll know.
Yeah.
But that probably won't happen.
Honestly, surprising at this point that Nintendo doesn't expand the top 10 to be the top like 20 or whatever, because like, I guess if I were them, I'd feel like these are all impressive numbers, all the way down to the top 20.
Yeah, but I think it's a bigger flex to not even have to say, Like,
I think, yeah.
because
Exactly.
at that point you're left to wonder, like how many like their lowest selling game is at like what, 15 million or something. Their lowest selling game on the list of games of best selling games.
Yeah,
it's like 14,
at 14
yeah.
million. 14 million as of March, which it'll be more as of the end of
Yep,
June,
and
which,
that's
like,
nuts.
Yeah, and
that's like more than, that's almost double what their best selling Wii U game is. Their best selling one, So it's like,
right.
It's like, oh man,
I mean, it's true. Honestly, looking at their number 20th game is Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening at 5.5 million, which like that's a lot, but the 15 million, it is more impressive to have the higher numbers. It's something I remember thinking about in high school, where like, so my band had a Pure Volume page that we were very proud of. And do you remember Pure Volume?
I have no idea what that is.
Okay, it was like in the MySpace time for like MySpace, it had music and stuff. Pure Volume was another website that you'd post music to and stuff like that. It was just a bunch of indie bands or whatever.
Gotcha.
And Mark said, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Yeah, so at some point we were like did particularly well on Pure Volume, and
Nice.
It was great and fun, particularly well for its audience and all that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I remember at some point in our bio being like, saying something to the effect of like, and this song has over 253,000 plays or whatever. And then I was like, that implies that it's 253,000 and some change.
Yeah, yep.
No matter what. Like, you can't read that as anything different. But if you say like it's over 250,000, then it could be 275,000. You don't know.
Yep.
Or like, that kind of a thing where like the more you round down. So similarly, yeah, showing just the best 10 helps out. So
Yep,
stuff.
it's true.
All right, questions. Moving along. Let asked, there's been a lot of small details given about Splatoon 3 at this point, but nothing huge for more casual fans of the series. What do you think Nintendo could reveal to convince people who already played Splatoon 2 that it's worth getting Splatoon 3?
I don't think they have to do a whole lot. Because I think that, like, on the whole, just bigger number makes people interested to buy another entry of a game that's going to be successful. You know, because like no matter what, this game's going to blow up in Japan. No matter what, it's going to sell a few million here. And that's enough for people to be like, oh, this is an established game that has a player base that people are playing and they like this game and it has good word of mouth and it has always had good word of mouth. So I'll try it. You know, like I think that that's the more important thing. I think that like this is like another another version of like, and I don't mean this in like a negative way towards that specifically, but I think that this is another like thing that gamers do where it's like they center themselves where it's like, well, I haven't heard enough that I want this game. Will I hear enough that I want this game? And since you feel like that, and I'm sure that other people will also feel like this, that's another thing that I don't want to discredit. But I will say that I do think that Splatoon 3 will definitely sell better than Splatoon 2 just off the strength that Splatoon 2 did better than Splatoon 1 because Splatoon 1 was a game that a lot of people liked and, you know, good word of mouth and so on and so forth. I think that like the only time that you start to get into this place where you really want to start to convince people that haven't played your last thing to play your new thing is if your last thing didn't sell as well as the thing before that. And I don't think Splatoon's really in that place. Do I think that they will eventually announce something that will make new people interested? Definitely, because they haven't really talked about the single player, and I think the single player, a deep dive into that will get people, even if it's like people that I think honestly, like if that's all you're in it for, unless they do an octo expansion sort of thing, you're probably going to be disappointed. But like I think that will perk up a lot of people's ears once they like detail the single player stuff. For better or worse. But hopefully it is closer to Octo expansion because I think the single player experience of Splatoon 2 with the Octo expansion and the base story mode is good if you just want to play that and that's it. Because that's a good like 20-ish hours of content. But like if all you do is play the base single player game of either one of these, I'd suspect, I doubt that Splatoon 3, just based off of what we've seen from the game overall, I doubt it's going to be much different. I think that it will probably be bigger just based off of precedent because Splatoon 2's story mode was bigger than Splatoon 1's story mode. And maybe we'll get DLC in this game too. So there's that. I do think that they're going to like the single player, like if anything will like inform more casual fans and like have them be interested, it will be that. But I don't think that this game's success is contingent on them. Is the thing.
Yeah. It seems like for sure that, the question is more how do they win over new people, which I think the single player is that. But I think anybody who had a good time, I mean, it's kind of like going all the way back to Mario Party Superstars thing where it's like, I had a fun time with Mario Party Superstars. If there was more of Mario Party Superstars, I would have a fun time with it because I know that I had a fun time before. Similarly, it's like if you had a fun time playing Splatoon 2 and the online and stuff like that, and especially if you're around any kind of community that you played with at the time, if they get it and there's good word of mouth of like, oh yeah, remember how we had fun before? We're having fun again. I feel like that is enough for returning players.
Just within our community, there's multiple people that I know that have said like, oh man, like Splatoon 2 sounds cool and everything, but like Splatoon 2 is like not new anymore. So there's no like real incentive to want to jump in. That have interest in playing the game just off the strength of that, you know, where it's like it's a new game, it's going to have a vibrant player base that enough people are also new that it doesn't feel like when you jump in, because that's the thing, like it doesn't really matter so much that games like Splatoon or, you know, like any fighting game or whatever has a vibrant player, but it's not about finding a game. It's about finding a game and not getting washed, because that's the difference. Like even though there's a lot of people that play these games, chances are the people that are still playing are going to be significantly better than you and not make you want to play anymore. But with Splatoon 3, there's going to be a lot of people that have no idea what they're doing. It's kind of like when Fortnite came to the Switch. You know, it's like, oh, there's going to be a lot of noobs here. Or when DLC comes to Smash Brothers, or it's like, that's when like Bob got into Elite Smash. Right now. Yeah, exactly. That's like when Bob got into Elite Smash. It's like whenever a DLC character came in, because everybody's just trying the character and they don't know what they're doing. So he'll pick the character that he does know what he's doing and then just farm. It's that sort of effect. I think that's also So I think that would be big for this game. It's just a new player base of people that have no idea what they're doing, so that it makes people that also don't know what they're doing more comfortable to jump in.
Yep. And I think the last thing too is going back to our initial conversation as well, that there will be substantial enough content to start out with that people will be happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of like some people being like, oh, where's this thing that's inevitably just going to come back later or whatever.
Yeah.
But again, it seems like based on what they did in the past, they're going to add more substantial things, modes, whatever, throughout, you know, the launch or like post launch, that there will be more opportunities to be able to jump in down the road as well.
Yep.
So like, yeah, I'm seeing it generally go well is how I'm imagining it's going to be.
Yeah. I think that this game will be in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
So what's he though?
Good stuff. Yeah. Cheesy, who was on last week. Hello, Cheesy.
That's a fact.
Asked, and topically so, if you were to make another podcast that's not gaming, what would it be? I say topically so because he's
yep. I don't know. I feel like if I were to do another podcast, it would just kind of be like what we do for Patreon, where it's just like about whatever, you know. Because I don't think I'm into anything else enough to want to do a podcast just about that. But I'm into a lot of other stuff. You know what I mean? So like I would rather just talk about everything. Like the Beans Cast. Check out the Beans Cast, which the Beans Cast ends up being mostly politics that make me angry. But like they're liable to talk about whatever, you know? Like that sort of thing. Like if I were to make another podcast, it would be like that.
Yeah. My answer is
sorry about the anger. It's not your fault.
Another podcast.
Or are you saying, Parker?
Just that, yeah. My answer is because I did have another podcast, and that was not gaming. So
that's true.
You know, easy stuff. And it was music related. But I think even with that, like, we did, I think like 38 episodes or something around there, and towards the end of that, sort of felt like I was running out of like. The way we were doing it was like kind of big picture topic and like more thing, and then like find examples for at least two of us listened to metal to some degree, and then one of the other guys less so, but like had a topic of like what makes music heavy, like what does it mean if like, man, that song's like that's real heavy, you know. And so then like find some examples of like this is or this isn't or whatever. But at some point we were kind of running out, I feel like, of those more big picture topics. So that's a harder thing, is having a podcast that like, it's nice to have this one because it's kind of reactive for the most part, where we talk about news things. And so we can have more content without having to like really come up with things to talk about. And also y'all asking questions is very helpful for that same reason.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But yeah, so I think music though still. Otherwise, I think like you said, just talking about whatever, like we do for Patreon, or honestly, oftentimes what we do here.
Yeah, true.
Is that?
Yep. Sure.
Rise asked, any indie games like smaller titles y'all go back to from time to time over the years? Mine is certainly Terraria. I've loved that game since I first play it, and now I almost always just have a little playthrough going in some form recently. Recently started a modding playthrough of the game. Modded playthrough, sorry.
Nice. Stardew
Any
Valley.
games for you like that?
Stardew Valley. That's literally it. I mean, I play indie games. I'm not like opposed to indie games, but usually it's like I play it once and then I'm done. But Stardew Valley, I'll go back to randomly, and then I'll play it a lot for like a week or two, and then I'll not play it anymore. And that's a cycle that happens a lot.
Yeah, now that makes sense. Mine was Stardew Valley was very much the opposite for me. I played it a whole ton and then stopped. Honestly, I feel like if I started a new village or a new farm or whatever, I'd probably be more like.
I don't even feel like that's the opposite. I feel like that's just a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, also
because like I played it a lot when it first came out, or not when it first came to Switch. I played it a lot then, but then I stopped. But then I started playing it again. You know, so it's like I just went to stage 2 and 3. You stayed at stage 1.
I think I stayed at stage 1, and I think like the way I did that village. Just like it's intimidating to come back to now, which is the opposite of what you want Stardew Valley to be. So I think if I started a new farm, it wouldn't be an intimidating one because I'd be smart about it in that way. And it would be nice and relaxing, which is, what you want. My actual answer is definitely at least one, Enter the Gungeon. That's one I've come back to just a bunch of times, and it's easy to kind of pick up and play. And I forget a lot of the like secrets in that game. Like there's a lot of things where, it's a roguelike or whatever, and you beat all the enemies, you go through and there's a boss, blah, blah, blah. But then there's certain things where like there's in the first floor, there's always a room somewhere with a fireplace, and somewhere near there is some kind of water or something or other, and if you put out the fireplace and you step in it, then a switch happens, and somewhere else there's a room that's unlocked that you can like go and do a different thing, blah 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 blah. It's like all these things, but I forget about those kinds of things when I haven't played it in a while. So it's fun to like relearn those a little bit, and there's like tons of deep lore and things, but it's even if I forget all that stuff, just the base game is just fun to do. So that's definitely one. I feel like there's others, but I can't think of them right now, so so that'll be it.
Gotcha.
All right. Yeah. Bob Woof asks, Bob asks, how many numbers of pi can you do off the dome?
I don't know how we verify this, but I think it's like 3.14915. I think.
It's close.
That could be wrong. But that's all I know.
I think I know like maybe 7 or 8.
I don't know that.
I know for sure.
I know like 5 maybe.
3.14159, and that's when I get rust. I think like 265. I think that's about it. Yeah. It was basically the same amount as yours, just you had 2 of the numbers.
I've had it flipped through it. Didn't see it.
So there you go. Alex said, nope, it's 22/7. Is that really what makes it? I don't know.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Like 22 divided by 7 is the like rational number of pi or something like that, or
I don't know what he's talking about. I had to think about pi in more than 10 years.
Yep. So there it is. That's pi. It's better than cake, I'll tell you that much. And
that's a fact.
You need to know too.
That's a fact.
Michael Garza. Okay. Discourse asked, with the current The Last of Us discourse going on, how do you think people will react when Metro Prime remake / remaster finally gets announced?
I think people will.
Not discourse, because we're on the same page.
Yeah, I think people will pop off. Because it's a game that a lot of people either like or want to try, and they will now be able to try the game on a platform that they own, which is a W.
Yep.
And I think that the two things are like pretty different, because like there is like the thing is like there's people that like don't like that get angry about every remake, right? And I think that that's dumb, because you haven't played everything. So, like even like the person that dislikes every remake, 9 times out of 10, it's because a remake that they would play hasn't been announced in recent memory.
Right.
And like, I think that is a legitimate reason to want a game to be remade. I think The Last of Us is a terrible candidate for that, because I could walk outside of my house and get smacked upside the head with a version of The Last of Us. Like that's how plentiful this game is. It was like even the first time that they remastered it, it was not a rare game by any means. Like the first game was released on a console that sold 80 million units, and it sold like 8 million units on that console. Right? And then the second console is released sold more than 100 million units. And both of these consoles currently, like both of those, like let's not even talk about the PlayStation 5, which ironically enough is harder to find than either one of those two consoles. Like even before you get to the PlayStation 5 and all that other stuff, right? You can easily get a PlayStation 3 still. Like it's not even hard to get a PlayStation 3. So like you can play the original easily, like very easily. There's like 4 times more PlayStation 4s in the world than there are GameCubes. Now we can go to the Wii, right? The Wii, where am I going to find that? I can't download freaking Metroid trilogy on the Wii, at all.
And buying it is
exactly, which that's even harder to do because again, unlike PlayStation games just across the board, Nintendo games hold their value. So even if I could in theory find a Metroid trilogy disc on Amazon, it's likely to cost me $80 used, and more than that if it's new.
It's 84 is the average price.
What?
$85 for just
and it's crazy. That was off the dome. I never looked to buy a Metroid trilogy, but I just knew that the value of that game is likely to cost so much more. So that's why I think that remasters are valuable and worth making, because they and this is a whole discussion. It's I think that the internet just likes being mad, because if it never happens, people will be mad that it never happened, because it's what about game preservation? I want to play the game on my Switch, but somehow we can't see the value of that when it's compared to Sony milking people for all the money that they possibly can for this game that they made less than 10 years ago, remastered less than what, 2 years after it was originally created, and now they're remastering it again for more money than it cost when it came out. And each time, even if we look at let's look at Metroid Prime, and we give people as on the other end of the argument as much flowers as possible, right? And we say, okay, Metroid Prime, that came out, and what GameCube games, they retail for $50, right? And then the next time that they re-released Metroid Prime was when they did Metroid Prime Trilogy on the Wii. That was all 3 of those games for $50. And then they released it again on the Wii U, a console that freaking 15 million people, less than that, this is rounding up, own. They re-released it for $20. All 3 of the games. This is one game. The Last of Us originally came out on PlayStation 3 for $60. Then it came out on PlayStation 4 2 years after that for $60 more. And now they're remaking it, quote unquote, for $70. And Metro again, on top of that, the original Metroid Prime came out 20 years ago.
I think the biggest thing is less even the history of things and more just okay, day and date, it's July 21st 2022. How easy is it to get a good version at all, or any version at all of the game? And super easy. If you have obviously if you don't have a PS4 or don't have a PS5 or whatever, sure, then you'd have to buy one of those. But that's besides the point, because if you're buying the remake, this is assuming you have a PlayStation console and a Switch, the current things that you're going to be playing it on anyway, a way to get the new one. It would be just way harder.
You might even be able to get a PlayStation 4 and The Last of Us for cheaper than you can just get Metroid Prime. I'm pretty sure it would not be hard to find a PlayStation 4 for $50 to $70. And you can definitely get The Last of Us for $10. So, or less if you get it used at GameStop or something like that, right? So it's I just don't. I think that the conversation is moot from jump, because they're not comparable. Unless you're only you're given the least charitable read of this scenario of somebody just blindly hating on remakes or hating anything that Sony does or whatever. You just don't like it because Sony's doing it. It's no, this is you can give tangible reasons for why this is money hungry. And if EA's logo was on it, people would be universally tight. But because Sony's making it, gaming's darling, we got to give them grace for it. All right.
And pulling the example over to Nintendo instead. If say, Nintendo Switch 2 comes out and you can get Breath of the Wild on there, and it's just Breath of the Wild, but because it's the swap, it's the Pro, whatever, it's a stronger console, then it runs, it's the same game, but it just runs flawlessly or whatever. You know, there's no lag anywhere or anything like that. And then they do just like a remaster of it where everything's exactly the same, but now it's got ray tracing in it.
And it's $70.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
would be mad about that.
Yeah,
I'd be
exactly.
like, I mean, you know, and it's less mad because even The Last of Us, I'm not mad about it. I'm just
No,
like,
I'm
okay,
mad.
I don't see that.
Yeah, no, I would be mad. Because like I think that, and it's not even because like it's something that like, because I think a lot of people get mad at stuff like this because they feel like they're being denied of something that they have to buy or that they're owed or whatever, right? I'm more mad because of the precedent that it sets, because I know that they're going to make money off of this. I know that. So more people are going to do it. Right. And they're going to do it more. And that's not good. You know, like that's why I'm mad. Like I freaking bought The Last of Us one time. And again, like most PlayStation games, I bought it for $10. You know, like one time and have no desire to ever buy it again. And it's a good game. Like, don't get me wrong. But like,
and like, yeah, just not all remasters are created equal too. Because like there's, you know, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That's a great example of like, yeah, it's even though the game is on 3DS, like nobody wants to play it on 3DS or new 3DS or whatever. It's on Wii and like it's hard to get. So, but you play it there or whatever. But like it looks so much better. If you look at the old version of the game, it looked great for the Wii, but arguably,
that looks terrible.
It's not something you want to look at now, you know. And same goes for like Metroid Prime is incredible looking
for a GameCube game,
for the GameCube. Right. But like, you know, it could stand even if it's like, oh yeah, wow, I see how this was impressive for the time. I would much rather it look impressive for this time, right? Or at least, you know. Like,
and here's the thing, like honestly,
up to par with this time.
I could not tell you what they did to The Last of Us remake versus the remaster.
Diminishing
versus
returns.
The remaster.
Yeah,
and
right.
I am honestly shocked that they showed this side by side with the remake and the remaster, because they're like, that is the only time that you're going to be able to really tell the difference, is if you're looking at them right next to each other. It's kind of like for most games, the like PlayStation 4 versus like Xbox One sort of thing. Like it goes down to like the thing that I don't like about Digital Foundry. Like it has nothing to do with Digital Foundry. It's not their fault. Like I don't think that it's the goal of the channel to do this, but I think that like people take content like that and use it as justification to like feel superior to other people that don't have the thing that you have, or you know, like you picked right and they picked wrong because your version has 20% more pixels or whatever, right? It's that sort of thing where it's like the only way that I know that this is any better is if I look at that side by side, and it's not like I would have to hear what they said, and it's like, you know, the reflections are better, and like, oh yeah, I can see that, you know, like it's like the power of suggestion, you know, like
I was about to say exactly that like there's for sure times where it'll show both things and not say which one is which thing yet. And I'm like, I can tell that they're different. I don't have like,
I can't tell you which one's
reference.
Which. Yeah.
Like I wouldn't say one is better than the other. I just know that they're different. And like, sure, you know, I'm sure there are logical reasons why one is, again, reflections, whatever, those kinds of things, where one is better. But like the other one, of this thing, the other thing didn't look bad enough, and this doesn't look better enough for it to be worth anything, you know.
And somebody even pointed out earlier, and within the discourse, somebody pointed out, it's like, yeah, this even has less content because it doesn't have the multiplayer from the original game. So it's like, all right, it's like, I don't know. But yeah, no, I think that's dumb, and I think the industry should not adopt that trend, but they will. They will.
And that's, I mean, but I'm, for the Metro Prime remake remaster thing, totally happy for that to happen, because again, like that's a game that's basically, if anything is sub HD, I am here for making it HD, right? You know, and then at that point, like, you're good. Move on to other things.
Because like it's also HD, it's like on top of the most obvious barrier of like, do you have this platform? Blah 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 blah. Right. It is like pulling teeth to like play these consoles on modern TVs and it not look terrible, you know? And I don't even mean terrible in the sense of like it's a 480i game or whatever, you know. It's because like these TVs are not made for that. So like how they upscale them looks worse, you know? So it's like to be able to like, like you got to do like if you want to like have it look the best that it possibly can, you got to be a tryhard like Bob Wolf and get like a freaking Framemeister, you know, like that sort of situation. It's like, come on, dude. Like,
or play it on a small CRT or whatever.
Yeah, like,
there's
which even those are hard to get now.
A 65-inch. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Having a 65-inch TV and stuff, blowing things up. Like, I mean, it's the whole thing of if you've seen like pixel art, super zoomed in, you have no clue what it is, and as soon as you zoom out and you look at it real small, it's like, wow, that's beautiful. Like,
right.
It looks great, but like, you know, or impressionist paintings or whatever, you know. But same kind of thing where as soon as something's bigger than it's meant to be, which Metroid Prime was never meant to be played on a 65-inch TV. And like, frankly, when I did play it, like there were definitely times where I couldn't quite tell what was going on just because it's like in a dark area. On a CRT, it would do it exactly justice, I'm sure. And I'm sure it would look great for that context. But just the raw console, it you know, doesn't translate quite as well. And I think that game should be done justice because I would like to play it in the best way possible.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Facts. Discord's done. We did it.
Discord's done. Here we go. Mitchell Monroe asks, when do you think all the next news for Scarlet and Violet will drop? I'm thinking next month around Worlds.
I could see that. I think no sooner than August. I mean, July is pretty much done, so I think that's not even a hard prediction. No sooner than August, but I would guess like closer to September. Because like I feel like they usually like with the drip feed, it's like you can set your clock to it. You know, like it starts in February and they give us a crumb, and then around May they give us another crumb, and then they're like, hey, September, August time, they're like, here's another crumb, and then like you get like a month or two out and they're giving us stuff like every other week and then every week and then every day and then the game's out. So I think late August, early September would be my guess.
I mean, just looking at trends for the sake of it, looks like August 7th, 2019 was when we got some kind of update for Sword and Shield, and I think that's when the like drip feed sort of started. So yeah, if they're just going by, you know, tradition, then that seems especially likely. So yeah, there you go. All right, now into the last couple questions from Discord specifically. Now, Mega Man asked, in the spirit of Alec becoming affiliated, good job, Alec.
Congrats.
We always knew.
That sounds like a cult.
So yeah, in spirit of that, what's your favorite thing to bake? And if you haven't baked anything before, what's holding you back? Get baking, you loser.
I don't often bake. I freaking made cookies before, and that's it. That's all I've ever baked.
Yeah.
Have I done it in the last 20 years indoor by myself? No. Do I plan to?
Nice.
Absolutely not. I'd rather pay people that like doing it.
There you go. Yeah. Get some free bacon things. Yeah, I mean, I bake some, not very often and not particularly well. I think the thing that I was the most happy about how it turned out is at some point I made like a lavender vanilla cake. And it turned out like texturally not that great, but flavor wise was really good. And I was very happy about that. And I ate a good chunk of it. But did I say lavender vanilla? I meant to say lavender and lemon. I totally said vanilla. I was wrong. Vanilla. It was lavender and lemon. Nevertheless, it tasted good. Otherwise, yeah, you'd think Rice said lavender flavor sounds gross. You'd think so. It was kind of mild. Like, I feel like lavender things, you can't go overboard with it. Otherwise, that's super gross. But I'm just like a little bit, kind of lifts it a little bit or something. But I don't know. I'm not that good at baking though. I've baked some other things, but they've all just turned out kind of normal, more or less. So
fair enough.
There you go. But good job, Alec. We're proud of you. speaking kind of Alex still, Sardi asked, favorite bean-based beverage and food?
Freaking hot chocolate or vanilla milkshakes.
Oh, because cocoa beans, is that the idea?
Yeah. Or vanilla beans.
Smart.
Yeah. But I don't like coffee. The matter of fact, in fact, I freaking ordered food, and they gave me coffee for a drink instead of the drink that I wanted, and I was very upset. And I drunk it anyway, and I did not like it. Because every time I try it, I give it a try. I'm like, so many people I tried to do the thing that I think is actively stupid, but people do it, where it's like the whole acquired taste. Like, I don't like the marketing behind the phrase acquired taste is nuts. Because like it's literally like people are like, oh, this is good. I had to trick myself into liking it, but it's good, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts. So like, yeah, I still have not acquired the taste.
That's really funny. But no, I mean, it's true. Yeah, there's plenty of things that I just don't care to acquire a taste for. And especially not if I'm going to like seek after that thing. I don't know that there's been any things that I've acquired the taste for and then have sought after. More often than not, if I've acquired a taste for something, it's something that I then, I mean, besides, I guess there's technically things, everything in your life, probably at some point you were like, I don't know about this, but maybe you were a baby and then you tried.
Yeah, but I think that's like decisively
but like adult acquired taste.
Yeah, because like your taste buds literally change. But like, like I think especially like coffee is an especially like pertinent example because like it has like utility, so like people a lot of the times they like feel obligated to like it because it's useful. It's like, I can drink this coffee and no longer be tired. So it's like you have a reason to acquire the taste. But me, I don't feel like that stuff works for me in the same way that it does a lot of people. Like I could straight up drink coffee and still go to sleep. It's like,
it 100% agree. Yeah. So far in life, caffeine in general does absolutely nothing to me. And apparently that's just like normal for some people, but like likely to randomly change one day, at least if my mom's anything to go by. She said for her, it changed at 40. So we'll see what happens then. But yeah, for now, like caffeine just doesn't do anything. However, the only contexts, I mean, blah, 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 blah. The thing that is nice about coffee sometimes for me is that most things I drink really fast. And so then they're just gone. And that's, so that is what it is. Black coffee is something that's like it's not great as I'm drinking it. More often than not. There's some times where it's like, if it's a particularly good coffee, I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. But it's the kind of thing that makes me like, I'll sip it and be like, okay. But then a couple minutes later, my mouth wants more of that flavor again. And so it's something that I can sip on for a long time and doesn't have a lot of calories or whatever. As opposed to most things that just like are gone instantly. And then I have to either get a new thing or not have a thing. So coffee is a nice, just like boredom satiating thing, but even then it's like not very often.
It sounds like torture to me, where it's like, I don't like this thing, but I'm gonna drink it for a long time.
I mean, at that point though, it literally is just, it's a utility thing as well, just not like an awake utility. It's just like
an addiction.
I want to physically do something, and there it is, Yeah, so that thing. So yeah, favorite bean-based beverage. I'm with you on the chocolate stuff. Yeah, I'm going for that for sure. Food.
Great endorsement of coffee. Still, listen to the beans, guys.
Yep. There you go.
And it's funny? Like, I'm always giving them crap because they like whenever they don't have, because they do a whole thing where it's like, all right, what are you drinking? Because it's the freaking beans cast. And I give them crap whenever they're drinking something that's not related to a bean. Yeah, like what the heck? Like, I don't really care that I don't like it, but it's your show. Commit to the bit, dude. Like, come on.
Yep. Yeah, food wise, I don't know. I mean, just beans, man. Beans are good. Mark asked,
This is such an
which
easy question.
So it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I had a spin-off question of this that I thought of too. But yeah, which Nintendo character would have the most impressive LinkedIn profile?
Mario free. It's
Easy,
not
yeah.
even close to close.
The only way you could argue otherwise is if all of the side activities are like considered a hobby, but I don't think you could argue that. Like, he's a professional tournament winner at these things. He makes money within their games for a lot of them.
Yep.
He uses for it. So like, yeah, I tried to think of a way where it would be somebody that's not Mario.
Yeah,
but
like the thing is, like, even if you
Mario.
don't get paid for something, you can still put it on your LinkedIn. Like, people put like volunteer work and stuff like that on LinkedIn.
That's
Like,
true.
it's still experience. It's the thing that you did. So it's like, yeah,
And especially if you're good enough at that thing, if you're at the top of your class at like, or it's like, yeah, I do this work thing, but also I released a platinum or something.
Yep.
It's like,
That's a
there you
fact.
go, yeah. Yeah. But the spin-off question is, which Nintendo character would have the least impressive LinkedIn profile? I had an answer for this, but I forgot it.
Swamps.
Oh, I remember. Inklings. Because like it's just like just a hobby. It feels like it's just, like,
Nah, man, it's
I don't
like
know.
a sport team. I think that like sports teams, there's a lot
you're
of
right.
like marketable skills in being a part of a sports team.
I guess that's true. I could see that.
I say Thwomps because all they do is fall down and get back up again.
That's true. Oh, I can see it. Never gonna keep me down. You get that's one. Mark said, but also which Nintendo character would have the most impressive Boy Zelda profile, like LinkedIn? Boy Zelda.
Yeah, Boy Zelda.
I said it wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a fact.
Look at that.
That's a fact.
What a silly. He hacked the computer with his sword. Fun times. All right, last question from RP, and then we're out of here. We've been trying to keep the podcast a little bit more concise recently, but we did not do that today.
Yeah, which is crazy because this podcast we didn't even have a freaking topic
Yeah, I know.
going into
How'd
it.
that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's because we had a lot of Q&A, but also we spent the topic that we ended up doing, I think, was a sizable one. So
it's true. And also, games we're playing, there was quite a bit there.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
But yeah, last question. If you lived in the Zeldaverse, this is from RP, sorry. If you lived in the Zeldaverse, who would you live around with? The Ritos, the Gorons, or the Zora?
Ritos, because the flying's cool, but and also to glare angrily at Fake Falco because I hate him.
I mean, I feel like
sucks.
that's got to be the answer. Like, Gorons feels fun, but like, I don't want to deal with that heat for one thing. And also, I don't want to just eat rocks.
Facts.
But like, I feel like the Gorons have the most fun personalities, but there's other parts of it that just would feel garbage.
I don't want to live
The
on a
Zoras have the
volcano.
worst personality, I feel like. Like, they just feel super stuck up. And the Ritos just feel like pretty chill,
Yeah, except for Fake Falco.
So-
He's a jerk. Hate him. Hate him.
Very much is.
He's terrible. I'm glad he's dead.
Yep. So there it is. That's the podcast, y'all. And yeah, next week's we're gonna be recording it early, but probably I guess still posting it normal time. I don't know, right?
What?
Or maybe not. We'll see.
Yes, normal time. It's
Okay,
definitely normal
posting
time.
early recording time.
Yes.
Nice.
So good times, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. Here's the end card. Isn't it great? See, look at the thing spin. You see that subscribe button? You should click it. If you don't see that end screen, you should rate the podcast. And you should go to listen on podcast services. Okay, goodbye.